Wire fraud in real estate transactions refers to a type of cybercrime where criminals trick parties, usually buyers, sellers, or agents, into wiring funds, often large amounts like down payments or closing costs, to fraudulent bank accounts. It's one of the fastest growing threats in real estate. The purchase contract make it clear to both the seller and buyer on the cover page about wire fraud. How it happens. Criminals usually gain access to email accounts involved in the transaction, like an agent, title company, or buyer, through phishing scams. Once inside, they monitor the communication and wait for the right moment, often close to closing day. Then they send a fake but very convincing email that appears to be from a trusted party, e.g., title company or escrow officer, instructing the buyer to wire funds to a different, fraudulent account. Example scenario. A buyer receives an email that looks like it's from their title company saying, "Please wire your $80,000 closing funds to this updated account by 2 p.m. today." If the buyer doesn't double-check, they may unknowingly send the funds straight to the fraudster, and recovering that money is extremely difficult, often impossible. Key red flags. Last-minute changes to wiring instructions. Pressure to act quickly. Slight misspellings in email addresses or domains. Emails with vague greetings or unusual formatting. Mitigation strategies. Verify wiring instructions by calling a known, trusted number. Never use contact info in the suspicious email. Use secure email platforms or portals for sensitive information. Educate clients early in the transaction about wire fraud risks. Look for domain mismatches or altered sender names. Enable two-factor authentication on all email accounts. Cyber hackers use a variety of techniques to get into a system, some simple, some highly sophisticated. Here are the most common ways hackers break in. 1. Phishing, most common entry point. They send fake emails or messages pretending to be a trusted person or company. If you click a link or download an attachment, it can install malware, send them your login info, open a door into your system or network. Example, you get an email from what looks like your bank saying, "Click here to confirm your login." You click, enter your password, and now the hacker has your credentials. 2. Weak passwords. Simple passwords like 123456 or password are easy for hackers to guess using brute force attacks, trying lots of combinations rapidly. Pro tip, always use strong passwords and enable two-factor authentication, 2FA. Two-factor authentication, 2FA, is a security feature that adds an extra layer of protection to your accounts by requiring two forms of verification when you log in, not just a password. How it works: instead of just entering your password, 2FA asks for a second factor to prove your identity. This second factor usually falls into one of these categories. 1. Something you know, your password. 2. Something you have, your phone, a code, an app. 3. Something you are, fingerprint, Face ID. Example of 2FA in action. 1. You enter your username and password, first factor. 2. You're prompted to enter a code sent to your phone or generated by an app, second factor. Only after both steps are verified do you gain access. 3. Malware and spyware hackers may trick you into installing malicious software by disguising it as free apps or games. Email attachments. Fake software updates. Once installed, malware can record keystrokes, steal files, or give remote access to your system. What is malware? Malware is short for malicious software, any software designed to harm, steal, or spy on your device or data. Think of malware as the digital version of a break-in. It sneaks into your computer or phone and does damage or steals things without you knowing. What is spyware? Spyware is a type of malware that's specifically made to spy on you. It secretly collects your keystrokes, what you type, passwords, websites you visit, credit card numbers, private messages. Spyware can even take screenshots or turn on your webcam without your knowledge. The other common types of malware. Type what it does. Viruses infect files and spread to others, often corrupting data. Trojans pretend to be safe programs, like a fake software update, but open the door to hackers. Ransomware locks your computer and demands payment to unlock it. Worms. Self-replicate and spread across networks. Adware. Bombards you with unwanted ads or redirects your searches. In real estate, malware and spyware are especially dangerous because they can steal your email login and send fake wire transfer instructions, capture sensitive client data and financial info, hijack your device during a transaction. 4. Unpatched software or systems. If your operating system, browser, or plugins aren't updated, hackers can exploit known vulnerabilities. That's why software updates, even annoying ones, are critical. 5. Public Wi-Fi snooping. Hackers can intercept data on public Wi-Fi networks, like in cafes or airports, especially if the connection isn't encrypted. They can sniff data or create fake Wi-Fi hotspots to trick people into connecting. 6. Social engineering. This is when hackers manipulate people into giving up access, like pretending to be IT support and asking for login info, calling a receptionist pretending to be an employee, gaining trust through fake social media accounts. 7. Exploiting remote access. Hackers target remote desktop connections like RDP or VPNs, especially if default usernames, passwords are used, connections aren't encrypted, multi-factor authentication isn't in place. Summary of how hackers get in. Method: risk level. How to prevent phishing. Very high. Don't click unknown links. Verify emails. Weak passwords. High use strong, unique passwords and 2FA. Malware high, use antivirus and avoid sketchy downloads. Unpatched software medium. Keep everything updated. Public Wi-Fi attacks. Medium, use a VPN and avoid sensitive tasks on public Wi-Fi. Social engineering. High, verify identities. Before giving info, remote access exploits. High lockdown RDP VPN access and require 2FA public Wi-Fi is super convenient, but it's also a prime hunting ground for hackers. Here's how to stay safe when you're sipping coffee and working at the same time. Get top tips to protect yourself on public Wi-Fi. 1. Use a VPN, virtual private network. A VPN, virtual private network, is a security tool that creates a private, encrypted connection between your device and the internet, even when you're using public Wi-Fi. It acts like a secure tunnel that hides your online activity from hackers, internet service providers, and even websites. When you connect to a VPN, your data is rerouted through a secure server in another location, which also masks your IP address and location. This is especially useful when accessing sensitive information, like financial data, emails, or real estate transaction platforms, on untrusted networks. VPNs help protect your privacy and reduce the risk of cyber threats like data interception, tracking, and identity theft. A VPN encrypts your internet connection, making it nearly impossible for hackers to snoop on your data, even if you're on a sketchy network. 2. Turn off sharing features. Disable things like file sharing, printer sharing, AirDrop on Apple devices. On Windows, go to Network and Sharing Center. On Mac, use System Preferences sharing. 3. Stick to HTTPS websites. Only visit websites that start with HTTPS. Boss, look for the padlock icon in your browser. These sites encrypt the data you send and receive. Avoid entering passwords or sensitive info on non-HTTPS sites. The difference between HTTP and HTTPS comes down to security. HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. It's the basic way your browser connects to websites and transfers data, but it's not secure. Anyone on the same network, like public Wi-Fi, could potentially see or intercept what you're doing on an HTTP site. HTTPS stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. It adds a layer of encryption using SSL TLS, Secure Sockets Layer CHA Transport Layer Security, which protects the data you send and receive, like passwords, credit card numbers, and emails, from hackers. You can tell a site is secure if the URL starts with HTTPS AS and you see a padlock icon in the address bar. Always use HTTPS sites, especially when logging in, shopping, or entering personal info. 4. Don't access sensitive info. Avoid online banking, sending wire instructions, logging into client portals or email with sensitive attachments. Save those tasks for a secure connection. 5. Use two-factor authentication, 2FA. Even if a hacker gets your login info, 2FA can block them from accessing your accounts. Always enable 2FA for email, real estate platforms, and anything tied to transactions. 6. Forget the network after use. Once you're done, disconnect and tell your device to forget the network so it doesn't automatically reconnect later. 7. Watch for fake Wi-Fi networks, evil twins. Hackers often create Wi-Fi networks with names like Free Coffee Shop Wi-Fi, Starbucks Guest. Always verify the correct network name with staff. If it doesn't ask for a password at all, that's a red flag. 8. Keep devices updated. Security patches protect against new threats. Make sure your phone, laptop, browser, apps are all up to date. Bonus tip for real estate pros. If you're working on deals or emailing wiring instructions, wait until you're on a secure network or use a VPN. A public Wi-Fi slip-up can lead to wire fraud or identity theft, and it's not worth the risk. Wire fraud in real estate is real, and unfortunately, it's happening more and more often. Here are a few real-life examples that show just how serious it can be. Example 1. Arizona couple lost $200,000. A couple in Arizona was buying their dream home when they received an email that looked like it came from their title company, with instructions to wire the closing funds. They followed the directions and wired $200,000, only to find out later the email was fake and the money went to a scammer's account overseas. They never got the money back, and the sale fell through. Investigation revealed the hackers had been monitoring emails between the buyers, their agent, and the title company. Example 2. California broker sued for wire fraud loss. In Southern California, a buyer wired over $500,000 to what they thought was the correct escrow account. The email they got looked just like it came from their agent, but the agent's email had been hacked. After the fraud, the buyer sued the real estate broker, claiming they failed to protect communication channels and didn't warn them about wire fraud risks. Example 3. Chicago title company breach. A title company in Chicago had its system compromised by hackers who inserted themselves into the transaction. The hacker sent updated wiring instructions to the buyer just before closing. The buyer wired $97,000 to the hacker's account. Despite reporting it immediately, the money was gone within hours. Legacy Park Sports Complex fraud, Mesa, AZ. In April 2025, Randy and Chad Miller were indicted in New York for defrauding investors in the failed Legacy Park Sports Complex in Mesa. They allegedly raised $284 million through bond offerings by inflating revenue projections and using forged documents. The complex defaulted on its bonds 9 months after opening, leading to over $200 million in losses for investors. The facility was sold for less than $26 million, with bondholders receiving only $2.5 million of the $284 million owed. Reuters Arizona Department of Housing, $2 million wire fraud. In June 2023, The Arizona Department of Housing wired $2 million to fraudulent actors impersonating officers from a title company and nonprofit housing organization. The department was unaware of the fraud until December 2023, when notified that the nonprofit had not received the funds. Fox 10, Phoenix Plus One, 12. News Plus One, New York, April 1st, Reuters. A father and son team has been indicted in Manhattan on charges they defrauded investors in a failed Arizona sports complex, causing more than $200 million in losses for Vanguard Group, Alliance Bernstein, ABN, opens new tab and other municipal bond investors. Federal prosecutors said Randy Miller, 70, and Chad Miller, 41, were arrested on Tuesday and each charged with securities fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy, and aggravated identity theft related to Legacy Park, a sports and entertainment complex in Mesa, Arizona, that collapsed into bankruptcy in May 2023. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission filed related civil charges against the Millers and a third defendant. Prosecutors said the Millers raised $284 million in bond offerings in 2020 and 2021 by inflating projected revenue for the 320-acre complex, citing forged pre-contracts and letters of intent from sports organizations to use it. Authorities said Legacy Cares, which the Millers created to own the park and pay bondholders, made no bond payments after the park's January 2022 opening as revenue and attendance fell short of promises, and the bonds defaulted 9 months later. Gadsden Company Developers, Tucson. In April 2025, Gadsden Company founders Adam Weinstein and Gerald Dixon were indicted on multiple charges, including conspiracy to commit wire fraud and money laundering. They allegedly defrauded investors in a Tucson real estate development project. The Arizona Republic former real estate agent, Coolidge, AZ, Sarah Nicole Kelly, a former real estate agent from Coolidge, was sentenced to 46 months in prison in 2021 for wire fraud and money laundering. She was found guilty of defrauding clients by misappropriating funds intended for real estate transactions. Department of Justice Arizona Court of Appeals case, $79,000 loss. In a notable case, a buyer sued an escrow company after $79,000 in closing funds were wired to a fraudster impersonating the escrow officer. The transaction failed, and the buyer's funds were never recovered. Arizona Association of Realtors. These cases underscore the importance of vigilance in real estate transactions. Always verify wiring instructions through trusted direct communication channels and be cautious of last-minute changes or urgent requests. Never call the number on the emails. Make sure when you set up an escrow, you have the correct contacts and phone numbers for that escrow officer from the start. Takeaway: wire fraud often happens when a hacker gains access to email accounts and patiently watches conversations. At just the right moment, usually right before closing, they jump in with fake wire instructions. Once the money is sent, it's almost impossible to recover. There is insurance that can help protect against wire fraud losses, but it depends on who you are, buyer, agent, or title company, and the type of policy in place. Here's a breakdown. For home buyers. Unfortunately, standard homeowners insurance does not cover wire fraud losses. If a buyer wires funds to a scammer, the money is usually gone for good. However, buyers can take these precautions. Title insurance with enhanced coverage. Some enhanced title policies offer limited coverage for wire fraud, especially if the fraud involved the title company's system being compromised. Cyber protection services. Some companies offer standalone or add-on identity theft or cyber protection plans, but these usually don't cover large wire fraud losses. Bottom line, home buyers typically do not have financial protection unless the fraud can be traced back to a negligent party, e.g., a hacked title company. For real estate agents and brokers, many real estate professionals carry errors and omissions, E&O, insurance, covers negligence or failure to warn clients, but may not cover cyber-related claims unless cyber coverage is added. Cyber liability insurance. This can cover O legal costs, O client notification, O PR recovery. O. Sometimes the loss of funds, depends on the policy. If you're an agent, check your E&O or business policy to see if it includes cyber or wire fraud protection. For title and escrow companies, they are often the prime targets for wire fraud, so most carry. Fidelity bonds. Protect against employee dishonesty. Cyber liability insurance covers data breaches, wire fraud, ransomware, and more. Crime insurance may cover theft or wire fraud involving employees or external actors. Final thought. Even with insurance, preventing wire fraud is critical because many policies have strict requirements or exclusions. Prevention, training, and secure systems are key. Criminals impersonating escrow or title agents is a growing form of real estate wire fraud, and it's incredibly sophisticated. Here's a detailed breakdown of how it usually happens. Step by step, how criminals impersonate escrow or title agents. 1. Email hacking or spoofing. The criminal gains access to the email account of a real estate agent, title company, buyer, or seller. Or they create a spoofed email that looks nearly identical to the real one, e.g., jane.smith@titlepros.com versus jane.smith@t1yuntalpros.com. Once inside or spoofing, they monitor communications, waiting for the perfect moment, usually right before closing. 2. Monitoring the transaction. The hacker reads emails and watches for O buyer names, O closing dates, O property addresses, O names of title companies, lenders, and agents. They gather enough details to craft a believable message that sounds like it's from the actual escrow or title officer. 3. Sending fake wiring instructions. Just before the scheduled closing, the hacker sends a fraudulent email that appears to come from the escrow or title company. The email says something like, "Hi buyer. Please note a last-minute change to the wiring instructions for your earnest money or closing funds. Use the new account below. Let us know when it's sent." The new instructions direct the buyer to send funds to a fraudulent account, often offshore or difficult to trace. 4. Creating a sense of urgency. The email may use language that pressures the buyer. O. We must receive funds by 2 p.m. today, or the closing will be delayed. O. This is a secure transaction. Please don't call. We're handling this electronically. 5. Covering their tracks. Hackers often delete or hide emails in the compromised account to delay detection. They may even intercept the buyer's confirmation message or replies to the agent or title company. 6. Money is stolen. Once the funds are wired, they are quickly moved through multiple accounts and usually gone within minutes. The buyer, unaware of the fraud, arrives at closing with no funds and no legal recourse to get them back unless insured. Common red flags. Email domain is slightly off, e.g., etitlepros.com instead of etitlepros.com. Grammatical errors or odd phrasing. Sudden changes to wiring instructions with no verbal confirmation. Pressure to act quickly or avoid calling to verify how to protect against it. Always call the title company directly, using a verified number, to confirm wiring instructions. Never trust emailed wire instructions without verification. Use two-factor authentication for email accounts. Agents should advise buyers from the beginning. Wire fraud is real. Always verify.